So you have been formally, which is something I appreciate because I think nerd vibes, tracking the performance of artists in terms of listenership, engagement, or whatever. Listenership, I think, is a good way to call it. How interested people are in their work and how often it is being listened to or viewed or whatever across a few formats. For 300, is it still the number 300? एक जमाने
Yeah,
में
about 300.
what are some takeaways जो आप बता सकते हैं from your
So I think for me, my database is now about 11,000 data points. So I have to be careful into how I look at it. But basically, for me, like an interesting angle is let's look at people's Spotify growth from earlier in the year to now. Like who has grown the most, right? Because this way, like you can look at it from like who are the biggest artists at start of last year to now, and that's not really interesting because like Atif Aslam could have a bad year and it would make a difference. He would still be number one.
खत्म हो गया करीब
Right?
आतिफ असलम
So,
का।
like Atif could put out 3 horrible songs and it would make no difference.
Yeah,
So that tells us nothing. Not that Atif put out 3 horrible songs. I'm just saying
no,
hypothetically.
that's
Atif
exactly
could do
what he
this sort of
said.
stuff. Please don't at me. So what I'm tracking is let's look at people's Spotify like monthly listenership and where they started and where they've gone. And I'm looking only at artists who at the end of the year had like 30,000 or above, because other than that it becomes too noisy, right? So let's go through this list.
30,000
Number
what?
one in 30,000 monthly listeners on Spotify at the end of the year, which is today. Okay, so top of the list, you have a guess of who has grown the most and by how much?
Who has grown the most? AleemRK, I would say.
AleemRK, you are right. So my first data point of Aleem is actually not even January. It is June is when I have his first data, and he had like roughly 17,000 listeners on Spotify. He is now at 1,300,000.
What?
At a growth rate of 7,500%.
What? In 6 months?
In 6 months.
And I mean, we could say that this is primarily because of one song.
Almost entire. I think he has like a couple more big hits also, but I think it's driven a lot by like cold hours.
Recent growth has cold hours. Wow, amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can probably guess number 2.
Oh no, acha. No, just tell me. Ab pressure aa gaya. I don't want to be wrong. Uppercase Umair. Acha.
Who in January was also like 20,000-ish and is now at 1.6 million.
Very good. Is Uppercase Umair is also on cold hours, no?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Which is why I said you could probably guess. But imagine, people who had 20,000 listeners at the beginning of the year now have 1.6 million. It is amazing. I think this is great.
And it's continuing. तो मतलब इसका ये मतलब भी नहीं है ना कि लोगों ने बस एक महीने वो गाना सुना और छोड़ दिया. People kept coming back. That audience.
So these are 2 snapshots from January to December.
Yeah.
Like this is if there's a blip in the beginning and it come down, so they might have had a higher number of listeners in the middle. But I'm just comparing January to December.
Right, and it's still huge.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I think amazing. Okay, so the next 3 are total Coke Studio effect. Zan Zohaib, Karakoram, and Ali Sethi. In terms of growth rate, all of whom have grown between 2,000 and 3,000%.
Ali Sethi also. Acha.
Ali Sethi, I mean, imagine.
Well, Pasuri.
Ali Sethi
I keep forgetting.
Ali Sethi has 270,000 listeners at the beginning of the year and now has close to 6 million.
Oh shit. Acha.
Which is also crazy.
Yeah.
But taking the Coke Studio. So Coke Studio impact is Karakoram had 4,000 listeners at the beginning of the year and now have 134,000.
Okay.
So Coke does have an impact.
Yeah.
In that sense. But yeah, 6 million for Ali Sethi. Like wow.
Yeah.
Great.
Are you measuring or do you want to talk about drops? People who are losing at a significant level. Ke bhai, please.
You can. Okay, I will let you guess who is the bottom of my list in terms of growth rates.
Don't know. I was thinking maybe would it be someone who's not alive? Like, I can't imagine Nusrat losing followers. But kaun hai?
Junoon.
Oh, really? Junoon is losing listeners.
Yeah.
Wow. What's
the fastest rate that I'm measuring?
What's the rate? Are the numbers like noticeable?
Between June and now, like 20%.
Wow, 20% listeners down.